It's very hard to control the mind with the mind. But there's a simple rule. When your mind is not where you want it to be, look at your body. Use the body to shift the mind. It never lies. It shows what the mind refuses to face. Hesitation, distraction, fear. Every unfinished task, every delayed dream begins here, in the quiet war between thought and movement. In our minds, we've already lived 1,000 disciplined days, the flawless routines, the stronger bodies, the better lives. But when the moment to act arrives, we hesitate. This is where most people fail, not from weakness, but from confusion. They mistake intention for action. They feel disciplined instead of being disciplined. We are masters of imagination but prisoners of comfort. In the ancient world, discipline wasn't a slogan, it was survival. Roman soldiers trained before dawn, not for glory, but because hesitation meant death. The Stoics practiced restraint, not to seem virtuous, but to stay calm when the world collapsed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Today, our battles are silent, fought in quiet rooms, behind glowing screens, inside our own minds. Discipline no longer means facing lions or armies. It means resisting distraction, comfort, and the fear of doing nothing. This is where most people fall apart, because comfort whispers louder than pain. It says, rest a little. You've done enough. Start tomorrow. And when tomorrow comes, it says the same thing again. Most people think discipline is willpower, but willpower is a spark, bright, brief, unreliable. Real discipline isn't force, it's design. It's shaping a life where your values lead your actions. The Stoics didn't wait for motivation. They built habits that served their character. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom, he meant, isn't doing whatever you want. It's having the strength to do what you must, even when you don't want to. So why do so many fail? Because they chase the feeling of discipline instead of living it. They binge videos about focus, read endless books about routines, romanticize the grind, but they never face its loneliness. True discipline feels heavy, a weight you carry in silence. It's showing up when no one's watching. It's turning from every easy pleasure the world dangles in front of you. It's choosing progress over comfort, not because you enjoy it, but because you respect yourself too much to quit. Imagine a sculptor in a dim workshop, chipping at marble day after day. To outsiders, it looks dull, repetitive, meaningless, but he sees what others can't, the figure waiting beneath the stone. Discipline is the same. Every act of restraint, every quiet decision, every morning you rise before your excuses, you carve away what you are not to reveal what you could be. The second reason people fail, they make discipline emotional. They tie it to mood, energy, passion. But real discipline begins when emotion ends. If you only act when you feel inspired, you'll remain a slave to your moods. The disciplined don't wait for inspiration. They act despite resistance. Because the world doesn't reward the inspired, it rewards the consistent. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Discipline without purpose is torture. Discipline with purpose becomes devotion. That's why monks, soldiers, and artists endure pain with calm eyes, not because they love suffering, but because they found something worth suffering for. So the question isn't, how can I be more disciplined? It's, what do I love enough to suffer for every day? The third reason we fail, we underestimate the power of identity. You can't build discipline on top of a weak self-image. If you still see yourself as someone who quits, no habit will save you, because in the end, you always return to what you believe you are. Change begins the moment you stop trying to be disciplined. and start becoming the kind of person who follows through. Identity reshapes action. When you stop negotiating with yourself, when waking early, working hard, saying no to temptation becomes who you are, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes nature. Most never reach this point. They stay trapped between who they are and who they wish to be, always beginning, never becoming. The Stoics taught that excellence isn't a gift, it's a daily choice. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "When you arise, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to love, to work." Discipline begins there, in gratitude. Not in pressure or punishment, but in the quiet knowing that this day will never come again, and that every postponed decision wastes what could have been. The fourth reason most fail: they build systems of guilt, not growth. They punish themselves for missing a day, for being imperfect. But guilt only fuels inaction. Discipline grows in forgiveness. The quiet promise: I failed today, but I'll begin again tomorrow. Progress isn't perfection. The Stoics knew this well. Mastery is built day by day, fall by fall. Day by day, fall by fall. Rise again. That rhythmic triad would echo the Stoic resilience theme and give it poetic closure. At its core, discipline is a form of love. Love for your future self and for the person you could become if you simply kept going. Because discipline, at its heart, isn't control. It's liberation. It's a quiet rebellion against the chaos of your impulses. The moment you take your life back from distraction, from comfort, from fear. I picture a Roman general walking alone after battle, not celebrating, but reflecting. He knows tomorrow will test him again. Victory is never final. It's a choice renewed each day. And so it is with us. Each morning offers the same choice: act or drift, move forward or surrender. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin again and again until discipline becomes your nature. In the end, the difference between the disciplined and the undisciplined isn't talent, luck, or circumstance. It's simple. One keeps their promises to themselves. And maybe that's the real secret. Not a hidden technique, not a perfect routine, just the quiet courage to keep your word. Because each time you do, something within you strengthens. Something silent, ancient, and powerful. That is discipline. Not the loud kind that boasts, but the quiet kind that endures. And when that discipline takes root, you'll see. It was never about control at all. It was about becoming free. Because in the end, discipline was never about control. It was about becoming whole. And in that wholeness, free. There's an old story from Sparta. A young boy, training to be a warrior, was told to steal food as a test of survival. He hid a small fox beneath his cloak. When the elders caught him, he didn't flinch, even as the fox tore into his stomach. He stood tall, eyes steady, refusing to show pain. To the Spartans, it wasn't cruelty. It was control. Mastery of the body by the will, a test of discipline, not strength. Because true discipline isn't what you show the world. It's what you conquer in silence. Modern life has no fox beneath the cloak, no battlefield to prove our resolve. Our battles are quieter. The alarm we ignore, the work we postpone, the dream we delay. Each time we surrender to comfort, we lose a small war within. And each time we rise, even slightly, we reclaim ground in that unseen fight. The ancients knew what most of us forget. Discipline isn't built in grand gestures. It's forged in the invisible hours, in the moments when no one is watching, when it would be so easy to whisper, "Not today." The modern world glorifies results, but discipline lives in repetition. The Stoics practiced this daily, not perfection, but presence. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They shaped their character through what Marcus Aurelius called the work of the soul. He wrote a "Stop talking about what the good man should be. Be one that line cuts through every excuse. Discipline isn't theory, it's embodiment. You become what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally feel inspired to try. And this is where the path divides. Most keep chasing motivation, hoping one day it will stay. But those who succeed stop seeking and start doing. Because discipline is a muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it grows. And like every muscle, it grows through discomfort, because comfort weakens. Discomfort builds. And only through that struggle does strength endure. Every act of self-control, every time you choose growth over pleasure, forges something sacred within you. The Romans called it virtus, strength of character. The Stoics called it arete, excellence of soul. Today, we might call it integrity. Whatever you call it, it's the same flame. The force that turns hesitation into habit, fear into focus, chaos into order. Yet there's one final reason most people fail, and it's the hardest to face. They don't truly believe they can change. Deep down, they carry the identity of failure. Every broken promise, every moment they gave up became proof that they weren't that kind of person. And that belief becomes a cage, because you can't act beyond what you believe about yourself. The Stoics faced this too. They weren't saints. They struggled like us. Seneca once confessed, "I am not a wise man, nor do I sit among the wise. I am a patient in the hospital of the soul." He understood what most refuse to admit. Discipline isn't about being flawless. It's about healing the fracture between who you are and who you could be. So if you failed before, it doesn't mean you lack discipline. It means you've been fighting the wrong enemy. The real enemy isn't laziness. It's disbelief. The moment you believe you can change, you begin to act differently. You stop negotiating with your doubts. You start keeping small promises. And slowly, something changes. You start to trust yourself again. That's the hidden power of discipline. It rebuilds your relationship with yourself. When you say, "I'll wake up early," and you do, you prove your word matters. When you promise to finish what you start and you follow through, you begin to feel solid again, reliable, to yourself. In a world of broken promises and endless noise, that reliability is rare and magnetic. People trust those who can control themselves. They're drawn to those who move with purpose. That's the paradox. The more disciplined you become, the freer you feel. You no longer live at the mercy of moods, impulses, or distractions. You live by choice, not by chance. When discipline becomes your nature, everything aligns. The way you work, the way you speak, the way you love. It's no longer about forcing yourself. It's about expressing who you truly are. And maybe that's the quiet revelation the Stoics pointed to all along. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect in motion. The art of living intentionally, not by reaction, but by principle. The world will tell you that freedom means doing whatever you want. But real freedom, the kind that lasts, is doing what's right, even when you don't want to. So when tomorrow comes and that familiar pull whispers to wait, remember this: you don't need to feel ready. You just need to act, because discipline isn't built on emotion. It's built on motion. Every small act of discipline is a declaration. I refuse to be a prisoner of my own comfort. Keep rising, even when it's hard. Keep your promises, even when no one's watching. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you're becoming. And when you finally look back, you'll realize discipline didn't just change your life. It revealed who you were, always meant to be. But the story doesn't end there. Because discipline isn't a moment you achieve. It's a way you live. The secret most never understand is this: discipline isn't a single act. It's a way of being. Not something you practice until you reach a goal, but the foundation that sustains every goal thereafter. Most people treat discipline like a tool, something to use until the body looks right, the career takes off, or the dream finally arrives. But those who master it know the truth. Discipline is the dream itself. It's what keeps the artist painting after success, the athlete training after victory, the philosopher writing when no one reads. Discipline doesn't end when results come. It deepens. It evolves from effort into devotion. And devotion, that's what separates the disciplined from the distracted. When what once felt like sacrifice begins to feel like alignment, you stop battling yourself. You merge with the process. You stop chasing outcomes and start living from principle. That's where peace begins. Not in the absence of struggle, but in the mastery of it. You start to notice the noise of the world fading, the endless comparisons, the quiet fear of not being enough. They lose their hold. Because discipline gives you something stronger than pleasure. It gives you direction. It anchors you to meaning. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus wrote, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." It sounds simple, but within that line lies the blueprint for every great life. You define who you are, and through daily repetition, you prove it true. That's why most people fail at discipline. They wait to feel like the person they want to become, instead of acting like them first. Identity is built through evidence. Each disciplined act is a vote for the person you wish to be. Miss a day, it doesn't matter. What defines you isn't the mistake, but the return. Each time you begin again, you reaffirm the truth. I am becoming. In the end, discipline isn't punishment for who you are. It's an act of faith in who you could be. The bridge between your current self and your highest potential. Live this way long enough, and something subtle happens. The world around you begins to shift. You attract those who recognize your consistency. You earn respect without demanding it. You walk with calmness because your life is no longer ruled by chaos. Even your failures transform. What once felt like defeat becomes refinement. What once broke you becomes your teacher. Because the disciplined know every setback is the universe asking, how badly do you mean it? And the answer, always, is found not in words, but in action. If you want to know where to begin, don't wait for motivation or for a sign. Begin here, in this breath, with what you have, where you are. Set one promise, keep it, then another and another, until one day, without even noticing, you'll look in the mirror and realize you've become the person you once admired. And in that moment, you'll understand, discipline was never your cage. It was your key, the quiet force that turned resistance into rhythm, doubt into strength, and life into something sacred. Because in the end, discipline is not about control. It's about becoming whole. Once you grasp that truth, that discipline is wholeness. You start to see life differently. You stop dividing your days into good and bad, productive and lazy. You begin to see that even failure, even distraction, is part of the practice. Because real discipline isn't perfection. It's persistence through imperfection. It's showing up again after the relapse, the burnout, the doubt. It's the art of renewal. Each time you return to the path, you strengthen it. Most never reach this stage. They still see discipline as a battle, a war against temptation and weakness. But those who endure long enough discover a truth. Discipline, when understood, becomes effortless. Not because life becomes easier, but because you stop resisting the effort. You stop negotiating with your purpose. You no longer ask, do I have to? You say, this is who I am. The monk doesn't meditate because he feels like it every day. He meditates because it's his nature. The craftsman doesn't carve because it's easy. He carves because the act itself brings him closer to truth. That's what discipline becomes when it matures, not a burden, but a devotion to excellence. Seneca wrote, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength." That's the ultimate test of discipline, not performing when conditions are perfect, but remaining calm when everything falls apart. You see this truth everywhere. In the student who studies despite uncertainty, the athlete who trains through pain, the writer who faces the blank page each morning. They all share one thing: a quiet refusal to surrender to circumstance. They don't need the world to be easy. They need only to remain consistent. Because discipline is the only path that guarantees progress, not success, but progress. That's what makes it sacred. Success depends on chance, on luck, on timing. Progress depends on you. Keep walking, and the path reveals itself. Keep returning, and the fog lifts. Keep working, and life begins to mirror your effort. And one day, what once felt impossible becomes natural. You no longer force yourself to do what's right. You simply do it. That's the quiet miracle of discipline. Repetition becomes instinct. It's here, in this state, that freedom truly begins. Because you realize you're no longer ruled by the impulses that once controlled you. You've outgrown them. You've transcended the chaos of desire, the lure of comfort, the need for validation. You've become something rare in the modern world, a master of yourself. That mastery radiates in your presence, in the steadiness of your voice, in the way you face difficulty without breaking. You no longer speak of discipline. You are discipline. That's the final transformation, when discipline stops being what you do and becomes who you are. Not an act, but a posture. Not a tool, but a way of living. When others ask how you became so calm, so focused, so unshakable, you'll know the answer. It wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It was the decision to begin and the discipline to never stop. Because in the end, the difference between the life you dream of and the one you live today is simply the distance between intention and action, a distance crossed step by step through discipline. So keep walking, keep showing up, keep proving to yourself you're capable of more than you think. Because in that daily act of quiet persistence lies the greatest freedom any human can earn. The freedom to live, not by impulse, but by purpose. And that is how you stop failing at discipline. Not by trying harder, but by becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to try. The sun rises just as it always does. But this time, you feel it differently. The air is calm, the noise is gone, and somewhere deep within, a quiet knowing takes root. You no longer chase change, you live it. Each breath, each choice, each small act of intention, all part of a steady rhythm that no longer needs to be forced. Because discipline was never about striving for perfection. It was about coming home, to yourself, to the moment, to the life that's been waiting beneath the noise all along. And as the light breaks across the horizon, you understand. This is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of mastery.